Hi, this is Melissa Ainsley with the 11 Intuitions podcast. This episode is titled The Grief Nobody Talks About When Work Was Family. And before I start, I want to say this up front. This episode is raw and I'm already emotional. If my voice cracks, if I pause, if I cry, that's okay. This story deserves honesty more than polish, and I'm not sharing this to criticize any company, decision, or system. I'm sharing the human experience of repeated job loss and what it does to a family, my family, because so many people are carrying this quietly. Sorry, I'm already crying. So anyway, here we go. We got married in 1999. We met in 1998 at a hospital. My wonderful husband, Paul, came to fix my computer, and I knew immediately that this man was the one for me. Where we worked was such an important part of our relationship. I had only been there for a few weeks, and the first day I met Yvette, and she turned in my best friend. The moment I met her, I knew we would get along, and she introduced us. Paul is like most IT people. He knew more about the computer that he fixed than the user, which was me. He didn't even remember me. I remembered him. He was funny. He was kind, hardworking, and I immediately asked about him once he left. And I found out that he was divorced. He had a young daughter, and he was going to school for his bachelor's degree while working full time. And everyone I talked to loved him. And whenever people put in a ticket for the computer, he came quickly and he was able to fix it. And he was good at what he did. And we took it slow. We talked twice a week because he was busy. And we emailed each other. And I still have those emails saved on a floppy disk in my belongings. And I was just thinking about that the other day, that I need to pull those out and find a way to find them, something to share with my girls. And then one Sunday, out of the blue, he called me and said he missed me. And I knew right then and there he loved me. After that, we rarely went a day without talking. We got serious fast and were engaged just a few short weeks later. One day I was coming out of my office and I heard commotion behind me. I turned around and there was this man I was hopelessly in love with, dressed as Winnie the Pooh, holding a honey pot, asking me to marry him. It was perfect. And I just have to put in a little shout out there that not only was this man dressed up like Winnie the Pooh, but during the few weeks previously, I kept hearing him with a sewing machine, and yes, he does know how to sew. This man made the Winnie the Pooh costume himself because he knew how much I loved Winnie the Pooh. So we planned a wedding for the following May, but didn't want to wait that long. And we had a very impromptu wedding in the chapel of the hospital we both worked at, 1 year to the date that we met. We invited everyone that we worked with, and then we went to Olive Garden for lunch. And then went back to work, because isn't that what you do? And then our honeymoon was him coming on a work trip with me to Colorado. It was absolutely perfect. I got pregnant pretty quickly, and unfortunately, we lost the baby. I heard the news in that same hospital, and it was devastating. But I got pregnant again. We had our baby shower in that same hospital with our work friends, and it was like a family. A month later, I gave birth to our beautiful daughter, Hallie, and two women that I worked with even waited late into the evening just to see me in recovery and meet our sweet daughter, Hallie. The next day, while I was still hospitalized, I walked downstairs to say hi to the people I worked with just 2 floors down. Gosh, it feels just like yesterday. And I got pregnant again, and I lost that baby in the same hospital. My mother was hospitalized there more times than I can count. She had open heart surgery while I was pregnant with my daughter, Hadley. And then a month later, ironically, my father had the same open heart surgery. And then a few short months later, Hadley was born there. We could not have been happier. So many surgeries, So many memories. That place wasn't just where we worked. It was woven into our lives. And then something changed. It stopped being a family. Life happens. Mergers happen. And they did. I remember one day so vividly that my rose-colored glasses came off about that place that I loved so much. That was a family. A massive layoff in May, one like I had never seen. It went on for an entire week. We didn't hear things straight from management. We heard them from each other through texts, through different clinics, through different hospitals. People we loved and worked with every day were disappearing. Then by the end of the week, that Friday, I remember going outside and I saw the doctor I worked with coming in. When he saw me, the relief on his face was unmistakable. We were both thankful we made the cut. That day was fear that things would never, ever be the same. But then, as we all know, COVID hit. And then we all went home to work, and my husband thrived. He loved working from home. It was hard at first for me, but I ended up loving it too. I got so much more done without constant interruptions. I could wake up in the middle of the night and just work for hours, getting so much done. And it was okay as long as the job got done. But then, after months of that, it got old and the trust disappeared. And then people started believing that if you weren't seen, you weren't working. And we were told we had to go back in the office. And my husband, with working IT, they said, just stay home. And to this day, as of a few months ago, he still worked from home. But Spirit told me very clearly, no, you don't need to work there anymore. Put in your notice. And when I told the doctor I worked with, he tried to keep me. They tried to do everything they could to keep me. And he said, what if this doesn't work out? You'd still have something to fall back on. And I knew in my heart that I wouldn't be back. Even if I stayed, I wouldn't be back. And then the next day after putting in my notice, my husband was laid off for the first time, along with the whole entire IT department. I panicked. I thought maybe I should stay. Was this a sign? But then within a week, I knew I needed to go. The work they piled on me wasn't what I wanted to do with my life anymore. And ironically enough, my dad needed me. He had just lost his license due to macular degeneration, and I wanted to be his chauffeur. I didn't want him to give up his life. He loved to bowl twice a week. And at work, they offered me to take off as much time as I needed without using my PTO. And I said, no, that was not fair. I needed a clean break. And this February, it will be 5 years. And my life changed completely. And my husband was picked up by the company that took over the IT at the hospital, and he enjoyed the job. But it wasn't challenging enough for him. He still worked there technically, just under a different company. And that's longevity. He knew where everything was, so he was an asset to them. Being the guy people relied on was great, so he was a wealth of knowledge. Until last year, everyone was told that by Halloween, they would be laid off. The work would be moved overseas. Devastation. Never in our lives did we think this would happen. And here, this is where the story becomes about families. When you're there before the merger, when you build your life around a place, when you think of it as a family, losing it doesn't just take a job. It takes an identity. My husband has truly lost who he is. He rarely took vacations. He loved his job. And last year he said to me, I want to love my job as you love yours. And honestly, he wasn't going to find that where he was. Losing his job may actually be the best thing that ever happens to him, because now we have the opportunity to follow our daughter and son-in-law to Chicago to start a new chapter, but knowing that does not erase the grief. And here's why. This past Friday, he came to me and said, I forgot to put the trash out. I forgot it was Friday. He kept repeating it. How could I forget it was Friday? I always put the trash out. I told him it was okay. It's just trash. But to him, it was utter failure. And then on Sunday, he came to me and said, I need your help. I let both of my medications lapse. Please don't get mad at me. He was completely out. And when we talked, he admitted he procrastinated. Then he said something that broke my heart. I feel worthless. Looking back, there were signs all week that something was off. He was getting snippy when we talked and asked him simple things. Not angry, just very short, on edge. And the dogs even felt it. They were more needy than usual, barking more, following us around. Even our daughter Hadley felt it. The energy in the house was so different. And then when I woke up that Sunday, the dog started chewing on our kitchen table. And that's when I knew something wasn't right. Animals don't act out for no reason. Kids don't get edgy for no reason. Houses don't feel heavy for no reason. And on Friday, before I fully understood what was happening, I messaged the people I work with and apologized. I told them, I'm sorry I hadn't been as present that week. I said it had been a difficult week at home. And then I was managing some heavy energy around Paul. I could feel it. Hadley could feel it. The animals could feel it. And at the time, I didn't yet know the full story. And it wasn't until Sunday when he told me about his medications that everything clicked. That's when I realized this wasn't just stress. This was grief moving through his nervous system and spilling into the entire house. Earlier that week on Wednesday, I had arranged for him to get help with his resume and LinkedIn. And just that small step lifted his spirits a little. Because here's the thing no one prepares you for. You don't automatically know how to look for a job in 2026 when you haven't had to look for one in 30 years. The world is completely different. The language is different. And the rules are different. He's already had 2 interviews. And now we understand why they didn't move forward. Because on December 27th, our daughter and son-in-law told us they're moving to Chicago. Now all of our efforts are focused there. And instead of fear, we feel excitement. This isn't an ending. It's a redirection. So why am I making this podcast today? Because this kind of loss is invisible. People think job loss is about money. It's not. It's about identity, purpose, routine. My husband didn't just lose a paycheck. He lost a role he lived inside of for most of his adult life. And when that disappears, especially after decades of loyalty, it does something to a person's nervous system. It makes small things feel enormous. It makes forgotten tasks feel like failure. And it also makes asking for help feel like shame. What scared me wasn't the trash and it wasn't the medications. It was hearing a man I love say he feels worthless. And that's when I knew the story needed to be told because so many families are living this quietly. So many partners are watching the person they love shrink and doubt themselves. And so many people think they're weak for feeling this way, and they're not. This is grief. And here's what I want you to hear. This loss may also be the doorway, not because it's easy, not because it doesn't hurt, but because sometimes what ends is no longer to stay. Hope does not cancel pain. Both can exist at the same time. So if you're in this season, you are not failing. You are not broken and you are not alone. And if you love someone walking through this, please know their worth was never tied to a title or a company. This is not just a job loss story. This is a story about love, grief, identity, and rebuilding. And if this resonates, I hope it gives you permission to talk about it too. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And if you like more information on what we do, you can follow us at uww.11intuitions.com.